Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Pontificating with Pete on Generational Change. It is Monday, I think. Yeah, Monday. Tomorrow is 4 weeks from Election Day. So we are really in the home stretch here. And I came from canvassing just a little while ago. I think what I can tell you all is that right now, at least compared to the first go around, there is some serious cautious optimism in the air right now. I do think I need to fix the music. What's wrong with the music, Travers? Don't be giving me crap. Just got started. If you haven't smashed the like button yet, please do. The vibe that I get being out there in the field, as is the case with most people, is that Jen definitely has a shot. That's what I'm getting. We'll see what happens. But if you are so inclined, I hope you'll continue to support these efforts because it is a lot of work. And if anybody can speak to that, and of course, it was important this evening that we do discuss a very important topic because obviously this has been a centerpiece of Jen's campaign from the very beginning. There was always talk of potentially running a second time, but the straw that definitely broke the camel's back was October 7th, not because of supporting Israel, but because of supporting the Palestinian people. And as Jen said, it's the hill I'll have to die on, but I'm willing to die on it. And it takes a lot of guts to do that because a lot of people get into politics and they think that, well, I've got to play it safe. Maybe Jen's a good candidate, but maybe I shouldn't talk to her because I might upset some people that are in the establishment. You know, we've run into that a time or two. Not as much as the first time, but it's still out there. You just got to be bold. And the people that are bold are the real leaders. Those are the ones that are willing to take a lot of chances. And so without question, Barbie, great to have you here. Guys, check out Barbie Hall if you haven't. She is running for Congress up in around the Orlando, Tampa area, I want to say. We have good people that obviously check in, and that's great. And what I will say, why this is such a big deal, Bibi Netanyahu just arrived in the United States this afternoon. And it was without a lot of fanfare, but we have people that were there to meet him. And who better to talk about this than our fearless leader, Jen Perlman. Welcome to my show.
Hey, Pontificating Pete. Hello, all. I really.
Jen, are you wearing a special kind of earrings right now?
I am. I did go put on my watermelon, my little watermelon slices. Sometimes, though, when the camera's a certain way, I feel like they look like pizza slices, but they are watermelons. Although I probably would wear pizza earrings also. But hey, guys. Hey, Steve. I would really like. I mean, I'm assuming he landed at like Andrews Air Force Base.
Yeah, we're going to play the clip. So Bibi arrived today, I believe, with his wife, and they were greeted by, again, smiles, gumdrop smiles, and all that.
I'm disgusted. Stuff. I would have liked the whole highway to be shut down from that point. Like, as far, I know it because it's military base, it's not like people can get there, but wherever it is that you get from there to anywhere else, I would love it to have been shut down. Like, I think this whole city should be shut down until this guy is arrested.
It's going to be very interesting to see what happens over the next 48 hours because a lot is going to change. But this is Bibi Netanyahu arriving at Andrews Air Force Base earlier today.
I'm disgusted.
Listen, say what you want about Vice President Harris, but the fact that she not only she's not there to greet him, but apparently is also not going to preside over his address for Congress on Wednesday. Listen, it could all be pomp and circumstance. We understand that, but imagery does matter. And in this case, the fact that neither the current president or vice president was there to greet him is a sign that maybe they do understand just how significant the movement against Israel's genocide really is and how adverse it can affect, especially the Democrats right now. Even though, obviously they're going to see a bump with Kamala jumping in the race, and we'll get to that later. But right now, this is again, the whole pomp and circumstance of politics is what you've always told me is the thing that you can't stand the most. It's like, this is all, Mr. Netanyahu, it's so good to have you here. They wheel him out with what looks to be the equivalent of an Air Force One, only it says, I think, the state of Israel on there. So I'm sure you would agree that this whole, let's roll out the red carpet for this guy. Let's pretend like he isn't charged as a war criminal by the ICJ. Like, none of this is happening.
ICC.
ICC, International Criminal Court. That's right. International Court of Justice. Don't want to mix up the two.
Well, I want to see what happens with the regular people. I don't want to. This does not interest me. This guy is like, this is where I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, where's the closest roof? Need one.
All right. Well, I won't torture you any further as far as that one is concerned. However, our good friend Medea Benjamin of Code Pink, who has obviously is going to be leading the effort on the ground over the next couple of days to make sure that everyone is aware that everyone aware, because that's important. Like, I've gone back and forth on this so many times in my head about whether or not to go. And Mario thinks that those are pizza earrings, not watermelon earrings. They're watermelons, Mario. They do look like pizza too. Chromium, although I don't know what a watermelon. That's chromium, and they're watermelons. I wanted to go. Like, I want to go, but that I can't. Me to go right now is more about me doing what I just want to do and not what's necessarily in the best interest for my campaign. So at the end of the day, it does not make sense to go. But if I weren't running, I would definitely go. I agree. And especially because based on the data that we have, this is a competitive race, and every day counts, every hour counts, every door that is knocked on counts. So it's not that you don't want to go and there wouldn't be some inherent value, but the truth is that we do have people that support you that are from down here that are actually going to be in DC. And I at least know a couple of them that are going to be rocking the Jen shirt when they're up there. So we'll have some good representation. Travers, I assure you, I am not tan. I'm just in my room here. This light it's called an OT light that you use for crafting. And it's the only light I have here. And so it has this sort of bluish tint that makes me look dark, but I assure you, I am still plenty pasty. Speaking of Travers, I did meet with a what was I going to say? I met with a nice older Irish couple earlier today when I was door knocking, and they had voted by mail early and they voted for Jen. So you guys are definitely and I always try to reiterate that point. But the fact is, when I checked with them and I wanted to confirm, like, did you actually vote for Jen? Because not everybody, they're like, she's a Democrat. I'm like, yes, but she's running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Like, I have to put that out there because you do get a lot, especially in the burbs, you get the true blues, and they don't necessarily, there are those who are like, well, we can't run against each other. And like I said, we're going to get to the Kamala thing a little later. The point is, what's so interesting? What's so interesting about that is that if there was somebody sitting in this before that was just, let's say, feckless, I wouldn't even be doing this. You have to switch the view to the other thing. We need to be. Oh, you don't like this view? Okay. There. Yeah. I like how you can control that from where you are. I have control of everything. Let's not forget that. You are the all-seeing eye. I am the all-seeing eye. Right. But yeah. All right. So our good friend Medea Benjamin, of course, was going to get things rocking and rolling with Code Pink. So let's see what they had to do this afternoon. We're here in Congress in anticipation of Wednesday, when the war criminal Netanyahu will be speaking before a joint session. First of all, the genius of doing that cutout is so good. You know that's probably Ty. It could be. It's probably Ty. Yeah. Yeah. But what I always find interesting is how many people are truly ignoring this. Like, they're just trying to pretend like this isn't happening right now. Oh, look, somebody's actually dragging around a Netanyahu war criminal with the, with the prison garb on and everything. I just, you got to admit, it is exceptionally brazen that they're willing to do this right now. Like, they're really just going for it. No matter how bad it looks, they're just, Netanyahu wants to address Congress. Come on down.
Totally I understand it, because I very much feel the same way in terms of, like, I really have zero F's to give. And that's the Medea way.
No, it definitely is. All right, let's see what else she has to say.
Of Congress, Bibi Netanyahu will be speaking before Congress right inside here, and we are participating in mass protests all over the Capitol, around Washington, D.C., and we hope anyone in the D.C. area will come out to join us. We have to make a massive protest against the presence of the butcher of Gaza.
Well, he's definitely the butcher of Gaza. There's no two ways about it. And as you've been saying, history is not going to be kind. It's going to be very bad. But then again, are they aware of that? You know, you've talked a lot about the odyssey that you've gone through from somebody who was raised in this environment to believe that, you know, Israel could do no wrong. And obviously now things have changed significantly to the point in which, you know, obviously the anti-Semitism has grown exponentially, but it's grown in a way where I think that there is a nuance to it that hasn't existed before, where people are being very adamant about their position in that this is about Israel and what they're doing. This is not about Jews. This is very clear cut. And the people who make it about the Jews are not getting the same. They think that by doing that, they're going to get some type of support, but they're not going to get it.
Yeah, I hope so. Oh, baby Ethernet, good. I'm glad to see. I hope you're going. Good. Oh, yeah. I honestly, if I weren't running, I would go. But it's this right now. It's just a self-serving thing because I just want to go. I do trust there will be so many people there that I need to do what I'm doing. But I think, to me, that whole town needs to be shut down. That shit needs to be shut down. I would like 1 million people in the streets so that nobody can drive, that there's no motorcade can get anywhere. That would be glorious. And look, I know there's people that are willing to get arrested for that. And we need a massive stance. There's no way that we should be allowing this man to speak in front of our legislative body. That's the people's house. That's the people's house. That's our house. And it's so outrageous that everybody should just be so outraged. I mean, if we had easy rail, we could all be in DC just for a short time. But anybody who can go, please, please, please go.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to show up. I am pretty confident that they will. So. Obviously, we've had a lot of distractions as of late, and it's just going to continue. But obviously, you have a lot of work to do. You've been dialing constantly, which is obviously not ideal, but hopefully we'll be able to reduce it to at least a reasonable level after, this week. If things go as well as we hope they will.
Oh, you think that there's going to be some number that you can magically make appear that's going to cause the powers that be to allow me off the dialer? And that's just not the case, because no matter what there is, there could always be more. And that's this is the mindset of this entire campaign paradigm that we're forced to be in right now. What I'm trying to not ever do again. And by the way, I will never do this again. Dial for dollars? No, never going to happen. Win or lose, I will not ever dial for another dollar. Nope, not going to happen.
See what Jackson has to say.
I'm just saying, I'm done with that. It's ridiculous. But anyway.
Unfortunately, when you're trying to help people, kind of like Mario Singh, proud monthly donor from California's 29th, and that matters a lot. And then there's this. We are brainwashed.
Those are shareholders. Those are shareholders.
Well, hopefully anybody who has contributed that you have dialed for are people that we now have on our email list, and it'll be easier in the future to basically just inquire to them that, hey, you know, and they know you now, and obviously they know you on a very personal
level. Well, that's
level.
the point of building up the list, and we never did that in 20. See, I don't think
No.
we really put that. I mean, we never built up a database like we have right now. Like, we never really had that. And we also never had a ground game like this.
No, not like this.
Not even
And that's
close.
the other thing that you guys need to know. And this is why contributing to the campaign is so significant, because right now we are basically averaging 5,000 doors a week in terms of door knocking, which is, for any campaign, is substantial, but for a congressional campaign is absolutely insane. But we're trying to win. And I think Barbie Hall, which you remember from Miami, who's running for Congress as well. Yeah, it's definitely not a glamorous thing, and especially if you're not in sales.
Oh, I just made the connection. That's the Barbie that I met down in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. All right. I literally now just made the connection.
Well,
Steve. That's the be all end all dream, is publicly financed election. I mean, that would solve so many problems.
No, even
not
Andrew
all
Yang,
problems, but
no,
many.
but even
that would solve significant campaign problems.
But even Andrew Yang's idea of democracy dollars, it's like we've got to do something else. Like, this is, but then again, the system is designed for us to continue to having to do this over and over and over again without any end in sight. And that is also why everything is, again, it's the top 1%, if you will, the way that everything trickles upwards, which is why these campaigns do not get anywhere near the level of attention that they should, even from the grassroots. You know, when you put it out there that, you know, since Kamala was officially, I mean, let's be honest, it's basically an anointment, but basically over the past 24 hours has raised over $80 million. And granted, it's presidential and it's all over the country, but that's just the start. And so when you get right down to
the part that I think people understand that part, but I don't think people really understand that in the insidious nature of the WCCC.
Well, and not only that, but the thing that I'm sure all of you have experienced over the past 24 hours is the incessant text messages. It doesn't stop. It is endless. It is, give us money here, give us money there. And all I'm thinking is, does that really work on anybody? I mean, I would think maybe one text message is probably going to work, but 10 text messages asking for money?
Yeah.
And that costs money too, don't forget. Now, granted, the ROI has probably been really good. How much they'll keep up with that, I really can't say. But ultimately, if you have any sympathy for Jen and knowing that she has to be on the dialer, and stop oh, Jen, I interrupted you apparently.
Did he? I'm so used to it, people. I don't remember.
Gee, thanks, Jen.
I don't remember.
Now that time I interrupted you on purpose because you said that. Actually, they just want you to talk. They don't even want me to be here. So, you know.
No, well, I think just talking about what were we talking about? Campaign finance reform. I mean, that would be the ultimate goal for sure. The WCCC is really the reason that we have this situation the way we do. It isn't so much that we have money in that we have. Yes, we have special interests that buy off Congress. Yes, they do that for sure. That's a problem. But then there's this other thing that goes on, which is the reason why we have 1.5 or longer campaign cycles in some cases. And that's because it is very profitable. And it's people have heard me talk about it. It's and we know about the DCCC, but it's what I call the WCCC, and they're white collar campaign carnies. And these are consultants and a whole group of people that profit immensely off of this for-profit campaign system that lasts forever and ever. And so the longer their campaigns, the more they can siphon from that. Yeah. So if we had publicly financed elections, you'd be getting rid of basically such a profit section for these people. But yeah, it makes it very difficult.
Well, for those of you who may be curious, we actually don't have consultants on our campaign. This is it's not bare bones, but it's definitely grassroots all the way.
But see, technically we do because our campaign manager does work with a group, but they do grassroots and do things at pricing and stuff to help grassroots and not take advantage.
They're also
people playing that game, but in a much more like benevolent manner.
Well, and the other thing that I wanted to mention is that he's also on the mission. There's a difference between working with somebody who's just, like you've said in years past, loyalty for hire, which is a huge problem in politics. You really don't know who is going to be on your side. I've always referenced Simone Sanders as one of the best examples of somebody who had portrayed herself as this huge Bernie Sanders supporter and was on the mission and believed in what he was doing. And the next thing you know, they threw a dump truck of money up to her, and then she was completely kowtowing to the establishment and has her own show on MSNBC. So that's one at a much larger scale. But even people that we know at the local and state level, there is that problem too, where it's, we understand that everybody has to have a job and, make money, but there is something to be said for, where does your loyalty really lie? Do you believe in what the person's fighting for, or are you just collecting a paycheck? Well, for us,
no, we unfortunately have met too many people in the latter that are really grifters, and that they're really in this for themselves and not for the mission. And you know what? In some cases, we haven't had choices. And that's part of it too. So if we had nice publicly financed elections and very short campaign cycles, we wouldn't be forced into working with people that are unscrupulous, because there's plenty of them.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate. We're in a good way right now, but we've had problems on both of our campaigns.
Absolutely. The one that we had on this particular campaign, though, was something that was in many ways out of our hands. First time around was something where we just really didn't know what we were doing. This time around, we do know what we're doing. I think we're being guided pretty well. But I do think sometimes it is just kind of the perfect storm. You're in a situation right now where the current incumbent has passed a watershed number, which is really reflective in the way people react to it. Wasserman Schultz has been in federal office for over 20 years. She's been elected in the area for over 30 years. And when people start hearing those numbers, even people in comfortable living situations that have voted for her for years are looking at it like it's probably time for somebody else. And that's half the battle in many of these types of, especially these suburban, middle to upper middle class type districts, which are a lot harder to canvass, especially when they are in gated communities, compared to some of the other circumstances like, the Cori Bushes of the world and the AOCs of the world, who had the urban setting advantage of being able to reach a lot of people a lot quicker because a lot of people lived a lot closer to one another. Out here, it's not like that. Now, granted, we do have apartment buildings. And let me tell you, when you're hitting an apartment building, it's like the greatest thing in the world. You can knock on 30 doors in an hour. It's tremendous. Really, really great. Tremendous. I knock on doors all the time. Really incredible.
Jimmy Zimzam's asking, will people offer to give us money when we canvass? That has not happened yet. Look, mostly when we canvass,
they offer water. They offer
we
water.
Occasionally have gotten water, but no, nobody has offered us money. We're thankful if people open the door and are just remotely, friendly. That's it. That's the best we can really, but yeah, no, nobody offers us money.
And look, some people are going to need jerk back to Debbie. It's inevitable because some people just simply can't accept change, and they're very.
It'll be interesting to see what she does now with attaches herself to that, because she was just, as of 4 days ago, still pimping for Joe.
Oh, Debbie was one of the loudest. Not only was she fiercely advocating for Joe to stay in the race, but she was going on national TV just a couple of days before Trump was shot and basically spewing the same type of rhetoric that leads to this political violence. How come you're not talking about Trump? He's a convicted felon. He should be in prison. And then it's like, and this is a woman who commits insider trading like it's going out of style.
You know what I wanted? If Debbie, it would be interesting to know if she knows what Darvo is. I would recommend she looks up Darvo. She's quite good at it.
Darvo.
DARVO. People who have, some people know what I'm talking about. But it's amazing how she'll just divert that and talk about someone else's criminality. But I am curious to see what she's going to do now that it's Kamala. If she's going to just jump in and suckle at the teat. I know that we know that they weren't really investing too much in Florida. They canceled the order for the signs. Although that could have been also us knowing ahead of time that they were not going to go with Biden. that they canceled the order for the signs. We just assumed it meant they weren't going to invest as much in South Florida, but it could now mean that they knew they were just not going to have Biden on the signs.
No, I think with Kamala, and like I said, we'll get into that once you go do your thing. But clearly there's going to be a shift in strategy. They're going to focus very heavily on a couple of states, Georgia obviously being one of them, Michigan being the other, potentially Arizona. So we'll see. It's again, politics is what it is. There's a lot of things about it that is great. Being able to represent people. There are people that send letters to Jen. There are people that send handmade quilts to Jen.
Yes, it's a square. It's lovely. Yeah.
If you want to show that before you go, you want to let the crowd see, this is something that somebody.
Well, I want to post it because I want to promote the woman who makes them.
That would be great, and we will do that. Okay. But there's also the side of politics that we obviously want to avoid. So we're here to talk about the things that actually matter. How do we inspire? How do we make it better? If you guys want to help us and obviously make it better and help Jen not have to dial as much. I know she says that'll never change until the campaign. It's never going to change.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah. But you can go to Jen.
Yeah. And yeah, so I'm not going to talk with you about Kamala. Do you think you properly can represent my thoughts on Kamala?
Yes, I'm sure I can. I'm going to do two segments. One is going to involve why I think she's a threat, and the other is why I think the Democrats made a big mistake by just completely rolling out the carpet for her, because she has a very big blind spot in her record that Trump is going to be able to exploit.
Oh yeah,
and it's not going to be good.
Right. Okay. So we understand that he's gonna wipe the floor with her in terms of like the propaganda.
In terms of criminal justice reform, he's going to nail her. But I also think at the same time, she is going to be much more formidable than I think people really understand. The spotlight now belongs to her. She has money. She represents a much younger, vibrant type of disposition, which is something that I think a lot of people have been aching for a while. The fact that she's 25, I think, years younger than Trump or something in that neighborhood, at least 20. That's a big deal. There's a lot of things to consider. I still
don't think she'll win. Now I feel like I have to go show the thing because Jimmy Zimzan. All right, I got to go get the thing.
All right, so Jen's going to show this wonderful handmade gift that was made by a supporter of hers. The talk is the prosecutor versus the felon, and that's gonna at least land with a number of people for sure.
Okay.
So somebody made this for you.
Yeah. So guys, there's an author who I've become friendly with. His name Ken McCarthy, and he's a really great guy. And so he's just someone that I spent some time talking to. Just knows marketing and branding, and he's just really been very supportive and helpful. And I had spent time telling him that if I were to have another lifetime, like I would be a falconer, because I actually really would like to be a falconer. But anyway, and my dream would be to do falconry with osprey and have them catch fish. But then I looked into that, and that actually can't work because osprey can't live in captivity, and they also don't work in falconry. Go figure. So in any event, it's not something that could actually come. I mean, me being a falconer could come to fruition, but not with osprey. But in any event, Ken knows this woman down in Guatemala that makes these. I don't know if you guys, it's all stitched. It's embroidered.
Yeah.
You see this? And it's a picture. It's a picture of a girl with her osprey catching fish for her. The fact that somebody listened to it's so cool. And it's done on a loom by this woman, and her name is Karina Gabriela, and she's in Guatemala. And actually her pieces, they take 3 months. She does commissions, and Ken actually represents her. So if anybody would be interested in doing that, reach out, because I can connect you with her person. But they come in these squares. It's very cool. It's just very, very, it's beautiful. Really.
Well, apparently it's you, Jen. That's who it's supposed to be.
I suppose it's supposed to be me. I mean, I dream of falconry, but I still am going to have to figure it out without osprey. And the problem is that what the other things catch are things like rabbit and stuff like that, which that just isn't really what I want to eat, but we'll see.
Guys, if you are so inclined, please go to gen2024.org. Help out the campaign any way that you can. Jen's got work to do, and appreciate you coming on and letting everybody know that if you are fortunate enough to make it to Capitol Hill in 4 weeks, obviously a lot is going to change. But for the people out there that really need a voice, that isn't just going to kowtow to the establishment, especially when Bibi rolls into town, that'll be much needed, especially right now.
I am irate. Anyway, thank you guys. I'm out.
See you soon. Bye. So as we know, look, everyone is going to have a very, very, very strong opinion. And please smash that like button as Ghislaine did. We really appreciate it. I definitely agree, Jimmy. I think she should. I think that would definitely be a good idea. Without the coarse language, but yes, Henry, we understand. And appreciate that, Kat. So, look, as far as I'm concerned, as it relates to Vice President Harris, I have, I have very strong feelings about this. Thank you, Nazi hater. We hate Nazis too. They're not good people. They're terrible people, really terrible people. But a supporter from Tennessee. That's a good one, Mario. I'll have to remember that. That's good. So I'm going to do this as a two-parter. This is going to be a two-parter regarding Vice President Harris. On the one hand, I do think she is going to be formidable. And the reason I believe that is because I do think that there are certain things that as a candidate, she can exploit against Trump. Now, Kamala obviously has her flaws, but the one thing that she has, comparatively speaking, to Hillary Clinton in terms of being a politician. I don't know Kamala personally. I've heard mixed stories regarding how she is as a person behind the scenes. The stories I've heard regarding Hillary Clinton is nothing but negative. But in this case, I think Kamala is very. She presents well on camera. I think that matters. Unfortunately, we're such a vapid culture that's the type of stuff that people think about. But she did make her a formal press introduction earlier today, and this is what she had to say.
So in the days and weeks ahead, I, together with you, will do everything in my power to unite our Democratic Party, to unite our nation, and to win this election. You know, as many of you know, before I was elected as vice president, before I was elected as United States Senator, I was the elected Attorney General, as I've mentioned, of California, and before that I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
Now, before she even has an opportunity to respond and to say anything, you know, these little jabs here and there, they actually work. Again, this is the whole thing about being TV presentable. Now, we've all seen her history as a candidate. It hasn't been strong. That's being nice. But I think she's kind of in her element when she's going after somebody like Trump.
Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
See, now granted, that's obviously being done in front of a crowd of, you know, true bluers and all that, and I get that. But the one thing I've always tried to be when it comes to politics is objective, is to not get too caught up. We are in the system we're in. That's reality. What we have to do is always be objective. And this introduction was strong. It just was. And the way that she's delivering the message is a message that is going to resonate. It just will. It's going to resonate. And there's a lot of women that are inspired. There's a lot of younger people that are inspired because she is younger. You know, she's basically Gen X. I think she technically is like off Gen X by a couple of months or something. So it's like really close. And we'll see what happens. But I'm going to get to that, Travers. I would say for an opening salvo, this is definitely probably as good as what you could have hoped for. But it was kind of tailor-made for it. I actually like the setup. It was actually done not too provocatively. She actually looks good with the two American flags flanking her in the background. Now, as I said, this is just smoke and mirrors. This is just presentation. This isn't policy. And this is the thing that is going to hurt the Democrats in a significant way. Because the thing that people are missing here is, and again, I know I say again for once in a while, I know Mario likes to point that out. But the one thing that I will say that cannot be ignored, and this has to be addressed, this was not something that just came out of nowhere. This wasn't an organic growth spurt for Kamala Harris. This was something that had been in the works for quite some time. And it just so happened that over the last 24 to 48 hours, a lot of this was being determined, and it happened so quickly. Now, I'm not going to get into any conspiracy theories about what really happened with President Biden or where he is right now. I just know that they were looking for an off-ramp because the numbers were saying without question that Joe was going to lose to Trump, and I believe he would have without question. Now, do I think that Kamala's going to win? No. I know there's a lot of people who think that all of a sudden, you know, she's now in the driver's seat and she's going to win. I don't agree. I think she's going to see a bump. I think the Democrats will definitely see a bump over the next, you know, few days. I think that's definitely going to happen. Trump has apparently come out and said that he will not debate her. Probably not a bad move on his part. He could probably only go down from there. He feels he's sitting in a comfortable position, and maybe so. But here is what's being missed right now by a lot of people. I understand, and again, this is the Democratic Party at its finest. They always circle the wagons. They need the leader, if you will, to tell them what they need to do, who they should be supporting. They cannot go on even a half a minute without there being some type of direction at the top telling them that this is what we're doing. I am not under any, I am not downplaying in any way, because I do think that she could win. I'm not saying that she can't. I am under no illusion that there isn't a big chunk of the population that would like to see a Madam President, that they wouldn't mind obviously seeing a Madam President of color. There's a lot of variables that one has to take into consideration, that people are just going to vote for her because of that reason. Now, I think less of the Democratic vote will be tempted to go elsewhere than they otherwise would have if Joe was still there. But Kamala was still a part of this administration and very much has had a role in a lot of the policies, foreign and domestic, can't be denied. Now, she got off to a decent start today by refusing to meet with Netanyahu, and she will not preside over his address to Congress on Wednesday. That's good. Now, what are you going to do to end the genocide? What are you going to do regarding the climate? What are you going to do regarding the economy? What are you going to do regarding healthcare? What are you going to do regarding a living wage? What are you going to do regarding workers? There's a lot of things that she has not talked about. Again, this is all just the whole, she's a woman of color, and she's experienced, had a lot of roles, all that. Okay, that's nice. But again, that doesn't solve problems. And this economy is not working for the overwhelming majority of people. There are people that have benefited from this, and there are things that the Biden administration has done that has helped. The NLRB has improved. I will not deny that, but they broke a strike. They didn't pass the PRO Act. The Build Back Better did not have anywhere near the teeth it needed, and the infrastructure bill was mostly a corporate giveaway. There are some good things, again, like anything. But ultimately, she's and she is Team Clinton. The Clintons have wanted Kamala forever. The meeting out in the Hamptons a number of years ago. And there is the other issue, which is her record, which for whatever reason they just didn't want to go through. And there are other people that easily could have had an opportunity, potentially, to get the nomination. I think Governor Beshear of Kentucky may be the best overall option. You also have Governor Pritzker, who has done a fairly decent job, I must admit, in Illinois. Don't get me started on Governor Whitmer. Do not get me started on Governor Shapiro. And do not get me started on Governor Newsom. But clearly there were other options that could potentially have come to the forefront. Now, there is this mindset that a lot of them may have, which is we're just going to wait because we're only 4 months from the election. There's really no point in taking this any further. We are not in a position right now where we could really mount the challenge without having that nationwide name recognition. And the only person who truly has it is Vice President Harris. So from that perspective, I get it. But not even attempting to do anything at the convention, I think, is a big mistake. We'll see what ultimately happens as far as the vice presidential position is concerned, and how long. I do believe that this is it's an interesting moment. Very funny, Henry. I don't think that would be a good choice. But I'm going to bring back an old school clip that I think a lot of you probably remember. And this is something that is going to be used against Vice President Harris, and it's going to stick. Here we go.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congressman.
Now, I know that there are people on social media who have been claiming that, well, you got to play the whole clip. You cannot, you got to allow, Vice President Harris to be able to, make her statement. What is she, how is she going to respond? Well, here's how she responded.
Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about reentering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring
So the problem here, of course, is obviously that's not a good answer. Very specific points were noted, and even though it's kind of weak sauce in some ways, but you could debate whether it'll actually have a lot of teeth. Trump has really leaned in very hard, and did lean in very hard regarding criminal justice reform, and that was something that he accomplished as president. There is well documented information out there regarding what Vice President Harris did as the Attorney General of California, that she exploited prison labor in the worst kinds of ways, and that she was very politically ambitious, and that she ended up hurting a lot of people. I believe Tulsi may have made mention of that at the end of this statement. And yes, look, we all know Tulsi Gabbard is for Tulsi Gabbard, just like so many other politicians. She's in it for herself, but she saw an opportunity and she took it. And in many ways, this is the moment that kind of knocked Kamala out of the presidential race. Kamala was polling pretty well for a while. Everyone's like, well, she didn't even make it to, Iowa. And the fact of the matter is, the reason she didn't make it to Iowa is because after this moment, her entire campaign collapsed. And it's pretty damning. And this is the type of thing that Trump is going to seize on and he's going to talk about. And it's going to have teeth. So while she's going to have an opportunity to go after Trump on a number of things, especially as it pertains to women's reproductive freedom and Project 2025, which of course is, they're going to try to bleed that for all it's worth. But there is no question that this is a very big issue, and it's never been properly addressed.
Congresswoman Gabbard, back in. Your response?
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Well, I can't disagree. And even though, obviously, as I mentioned, Tulsi's gone down her path, which I vehemently disagree with. When somebody's right, they're right. Granted, it's for political gamesmanship, and a lot of people do it. But this is going to be an issue, and we'll see how they handle it. Ultimately, this is what happens when you don't conduct a presidential primary, and the Democrats have not legitimately conducted one, I think, since 2008. That's really the last time that there really was one. It's been a long time, because we know that the 2016 Democratic primary was not on the level. In 2020, clearly, once it was established that Bernie was the favorite to win, they did everything in their capacity to kneecap him and make sure that he didn't win, which they were able to do. They had Buttigieg, they had Klobuchar, and they had O'Rourke drop out of the race and endorse Joe and keep Elizabeth Warren in the race at the same time once it became established that he wasn't able to get the win. Then it's the little things that the Democrats did in 20 that don't get talked about as much today as probably should. That, of course, is allowing the two billionaires into the race, Michael Bloomberg and Howard Schultz, respectively, or not respectively, but nevertheless, played a significant role. And of course, they went after Bernie Sanders like it was nobody's business. And even then, was still in a pretty good position to win. But it takes a lot. The exposure of the Democratic Party is pretty clear. We're trying to obviously change that. One candidate getting elected isn't going to change it, but it can move the needle in the right direction. And I kind of feel that the significance of somebody like Jen replacing somebody like Wasserman Schultz is significantly bigger than just any congressional swap, and especially in the same party. So we'll see what's going to happen. My understanding is that Trump is not going to debate Kamala Harris. Perhaps that's a smart move. Who knows? But I think a lot of times people just get their feet dug in. They know what they like, and they're just going to stick with it. David, again, we can't get into some, there's no posturing right now. I don't know. I do know that the president has not been seen in days, and obviously that's of a great concern. It probably is a health issue. We'll see what happens. But who knows? Whatever it is, it's probably not good. Is that the reason why he had to step away? I don't know. If you guys haven't seen the movie Dave, check that out. Pretty funny. Kevin Kline, Sigourney Weaver. It's a very unique time. And like I said, I only wanted to address this because, we don't, I always try to have empathy, even if I believe that empathy is for somebody who doesn't really deserve it. But we have to try to work with what we have in front of us right now. And what we have in front of us is a very important election that tomorrow is 4 weeks away. And I do believe that Jen can win this race. Will she? We'll see. But I think she definitely has a shot. I wouldn't doubt it for a second. We've come this far. And I think it would really inspire a lot of people if we were able to pull it off. I know I'm inspired. And I believe in knocking on doors every day. Because that's how you get them. You got to get everybody. So I don't know what you guys think or how this is ultimately going to unfold. I know a lot of people get so caught up with what's going on at the top, but do not neglect what's going on at the local level. That's where the real change can happen. That's where your greatest impact can be had. And that's where we need to be fighting. Ghislaine, Giuseppe, Mario, Chicks W, Enrique Jawa, Kat Negrita, Jimmy Zimzam, Nelson Ortega, David, Teddy Cool, Jennifer Perlman, Travers, Baby Ethernet, Ray J, who else? You guys have been very lively in the chat, and it's good to see all of you here. Steve Grossman. Who am I forgetting? I think I said you, Henry. Pretty sure. Barbie Hall. New and welcomed. Appreciate you being here. Carla Harrington. Always great to see you. Let me tell you, knocking on doors is fun. Occasionally you'll get somebody who isn't so pleasant. But for the most part, people are appreciative that we are out there doing what we're doing. Base Chad Thunderjock. Appreciate it. Got to have our one resident conservative if we don't have metal as well. Oh, we've got a few of them out there. JB. And I think that's about it. No, you guys have done a great job tonight, and I am very appreciative, as always, as everyone that is here. But I will say this. You know where I would... thank you, Kat. I appreciate it. Look like a showgirl or something. Las Vegas. Paisano Pete. That's what I'm talking about. Giuseppe. That's what I talk about. Yeah. We can absolutely do that. We always like to help candidates. It's very hard to run for office. And Jules, remember, we are a suppressed channel. That is just par for the course. It is what goes on around here. Artist model, I don't know what that is, but whatever it is, it sounds cool. It sounds very, very cool. Strut your stuff, girl. Strut your stuff. I haven't decided yet, obviously, how we're going to do this on Thursday. Jen and I have a private function that we are going to. Could be big for the campaign. Here's hoping. So we may end up going on, or I may end up coming on later than 9 o'clock on Thursday night. But clearly going to want to come and talk about what should be an unprecedented protest rally against Netanyahu when he addresses Congress. Here's hoping. You know, we definitely want as many people out there as possible, but we also need people on the phones. So if you guys are from another location and you want to help, please do. Go to gen2024.org. We can definitely win this race. We need everybody involved. And I mean everybody. It's the only way we're going to win. All hands on deck. And if you are so inclined, definitely chip in as well. That's definitely not happening. But with that said, appreciate you all. Thanks as always for coming on board. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. You know it means a lot. Thank you so much, Jules. What a great way to close the books. We'll see you Thursday.